Going live. We are live.
All right.
All righty. See what we got here. Put this phone in. Come on. Just wait for a few people to, as they say, come in the room. The room.
Yeah, I be seeing people do that, man. I never understand. It's being recorded. Just start talking, brother. We'll be all right.
You want me to start?
Now I'm just saying, you know how I see people all the time waiting. I gotta wait till three more people.
Mm.
They can go back and. Now I'm just saying, you know, I see people all the time. I'm hearing the background. You hear that in your phone?
That was my phone. I got it up. And I need to check my YouTube feed. There's Hoshina. Hey, Hoshina.
I
You
can't
don't know
see
nothing
anybody
about
from
that.
my end.
You don't know nothing about that Hoshina. Hoshina Hill. You don't know nothing about that, Perry. I'm gonna leave that right where it is, though. I'm leaving it right there, right there. Oh man, it has been a week. I feel like I need to wear a mask on Facebook for you.
How you feeling, man? Really though, it's been exactly a week and one day for you.
Mm-hmm. Um, Up and down. I feel more tired than anything, and just trying to get over these doggone uh, these these fevers. You know, I'm tired of having fevers. You know, one minute I'm fine, next minute I'm just burning up, and trying not to take a whole lot of meds and this and that, but you know, and I know last week we couldn't be on because of that, and so I apologize in advance for that. I was just so down last week. It was terrible, body aches, fevers, but the kids were fine. They were great. They were jumping around, playing, acting crazy. I think they ate more. Uh, I think they ate more now than they ever have. They just sit and eat and wait on food. Like, when we gonna eat? Where the food? Where's the food? And I'm like, wow. So that was just crazy, man. That was funny. It was like these folks just gonna sit here and just eat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they just ate and they still eat. So
I hear you. I hear you recording in the back in the
okay, let me turn
record.
this thing
Okay.
down. Let me turn it down. How about that? Okay.
Well, luckily,
So
they didn't lose.
their appetite.
Yeah.
No, they didn't lose that, but we about to go bankrupt. So hey, I guess that's okay as long as they full. As
Well,
long
as
as they're
long as
full.
they're eating, longer they're eating. That's
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Right. Okay.
Um. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have a lot to talk about. Man, do we have a lot to talk about? And I know when you and I are talking, we just go, go. And so
Right.
although we've got about an hour, if we run over, we just run over. I'm going to try to limit my talking as much as possible because seems like I get weaker the more I talk. So I know last show it was almost like I was interviewing you, and I actually liked the fact that people got to see and hear from you, the which side of my brain are you, the left or you the right? Are you right Twix or left Twix?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking I'm dead in the center right there top of the forehead. You know, I really don't know.
You the third eye. Okay, well, okay. So thank you, Francette. So really quickly, let's talk about, first of all, why we decided to start the show. So Ernest and I have been friends for a long time, and we have these really in-depth discussions. And he would always say, man, if people could hear us talking, if they could just know how we go back and forth and how we communicate and come to solutions sometimes, and sometimes we don't come to a solution, right? That can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Sometimes we don't come to solutions, but I think they could get a great understanding of how law enforcement works, how crime and causation, leadership, motivating people, and being kind and graceful to people, and then looking within yourself to not just about yourself, but to help be a better servant leader. And that in my eyes, and I know in yours, that's the ultimate goal, is just being a better servant leader. Whether you're a police officer or just a regular old person, it doesn't matter, because everybody can serve. But in the meantime, we have this crime issue and we have this humanity issue that we're having a hard time getting over. You know, you're having a hard time finding out what the answers are.
And it's real hard. The thing about it is, and as I talk to people, I think they're getting content with it. Their response is, well, ain't nothing we can do about it, man. You can't do nothing about it. The people, you can't do anything about this. We just gonna have to deal with it, man. It's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's a sense of contentment. I think that we're really gonna have to fix. Yeah, no, police can't do a whole lot, but I think as human, as citizen, I think the only realization now, one, is the fact that we're gonna have to start policing each other. We're gonna have to start policing our own people. Not only as citizens, as ex-police officers, we see something that's not going right. I think we're just gonna have to call it out and step in and do something. I think if citizens see something, they just gonna have to get over that rat snitch syndrome and step in and do something about this, because I think that's the last resort. We down to that right now. We can't depend on the police. We can't depend on 911 calls. I think and that may lead us into our first topic of discussion, but that's my that's my take on things right now. It has gotten that bad to the point where we can't look for a super savior. We're gonna have to, other than Jesus, but we're gonna have to step in and do some things on our own.
Well, since you brought up 911, we have a dilemma as a city dealing with our 911 dispatch system. So just to be totally open and honest about this is not a stab at anybody. This goes so far beyond being tattletelling. It goes so far beyond snitching, if you want to call it snitch. It goes so far beyond. Sometimes things are beyond you, and if you think that things are always about you, then you're self-centered, and I think it's another word. I'm that's slipping my memory now. So everything isn't about you. Everything's not about me. Everything's not about, if you want to make it about you, fine. That's up to you. But everything's not about you. but I think this is about everybody. So a couple of days ago, I was laying in the bed. I was feeling terrible. Had a disturbance next door, and they kept getting louder and louder and louder. And so I called. First, I texted the guy who's the manager of the building next door, and then I told him I was going to call the police. So I called the police, called 911. First time I called, a person picked up, and I heard a voice really quickly, like 0.5 seconds, and then it went dead. So then I said, wow, okay, let me call back. So I called back, right back, and nothing happened. It just went dead. So I sat and waited, and I said, well, let me wait. Surely they saw my call, and they'll call me back. So I sat and I waited a few seconds. Nobody called, so I called back again. Same thing. Click. That was it. So I waited about a minute or so. Excuse me. And I said, I'll tell you what, let me call 960-1234. That's the non-emergency number. See what's going on. And same thing happened. Click. So I said, wow, that's 3 calls to the emergency 911 and 1 call to 960-1234. So I waited from about 1:40 to almost, I think I called you, almost 6 p.m.
Right.
And told you about it. And then I called dispatch and recorded, talked to a supervisor, got a supervisor on the line, and told her what my dilemma was and asked what is going on. And she, now I did clear the air with her. I'm not trying to get her. It's not a gotcha moment or anything like that. But she told me, and I did record the call, by the way. I did record the call. She told me that they've been having problems with their phone system that day. And so I let her finish talking, and then I told her that, well, I do know for a fact that they've been having issues for a while, and I didn't think that they were still having issues. My neighbor who was home invaded and tied up several months ago, her son and the other neighbor tried to call, and they were having the same issues. So that being said, after I told her that, I said, ma'am, and I'm still kicking around whether I'm going to play this or not, by the way, Perry. I've been thinking about it all night long. I said, ma'am, who do we call when we need help? And she said, call 911. And I said, right. Okay. I called 911. And I said, who do we call after that? And she said, I said, is there another number that I can call or I can tell people to call besides 911 when they need help and they're in dire straits? And she said, no, just all I can tell you is keep calling 911.
Right. So
that just kind of threw me, because I'm sure everybody on the phone now on this broadcast is doing fine now. But all I could think about was somebody being kidnapped, somebody shot, somebody laid on. And I actually gave her an example. When I talk to people now, I give them examples, but I put them in it. What if your mother was laying on the floor bleeding and all she could do was dial 911 and nobody answered? That's what I told her. She understood. She did. So my question in general, especially for you now, is what happened to us? What happened? And from what I understand, they've been knowing this for a while. There was a council meeting where I think someone asked Councilman Banks or Councilman Foote, I think it is, and they mentioned 911 having an issue. This has been maybe a month or maybe more than that ago. And they said they were going to look into it. What happened? What is going on? That's number one question. And number two is, why are we sitting back letting this happen? Why? What is it gonna take for us? What we do? What's going on?
Well, we talked about it earlier that day, and I told you that um, the squeaky wheel is the one that get the oil. We're gonna have to do an outcry. The public is gonna have to do an outcry, a plea to somebody. We find it out. But since our conversation, I did a little research on the 911 system that we have in particular. It's a federal system, and ironically, I don't know if it's ironically, but consequently, it is not limited to Jackson. There's a 911 issue all over the world. And it's not an excuse now, because there should be a sense of urgency from our powers that be. There should be a sense of urgency that no call go unanswered. But what the system is set up on what they call a public safety answering point. They call it PSAP, a public safety answering point. It's like a automatic dispatch. When you call, it goes to that area that you're calling from, right? There's been some problems with cell phone calls. Different services confusing the system, not knowing where that call coming from, therefore leaving the call unanswered. And they know about this. They known about this system for a while. Like you said, the council know about it. And those are some things. And I like to do the research before we start talking about it, so I know, we'll know we're talking some factual stuff. But they have known about this system. But I think there's no sense of urgency within our public safety administration to really have the compassion that zero tolerance is or not one call should not be answered. That should be your mandate. That should be your bread and butter. That should be your top priority. And I think that's the first step into reducing crime, if you will. You have to know what these crimes are. So I don't think there's a sense of urgency from the police. When we start exposing stuff like you did with this phone conversation and getting at least the frontline supervisor in dispatch thinking, what if it was your mama? What if it was your son? What if it was your daughter stuck in the trunk and she have a cell phone and can't get 911? And her response is to keep calling, which is universal. 911, 911. Yeah, we need to keep calling 911. I agree. But in your case and in many other cases in Jackson, 911 is not answered. That's one issue. The other issue is the slow response to 911 once it's answered. So you got issues stacked on top of issues. But I think the primary reason, I guess, for this conversation and your feeling was nobody answered your call. And that should be absolutely unacceptable. That should be absolutely unacceptable within the Jackson Police Department, within any public safety division, for a call to be unanswered. So, right. But the point is, the fact of the matter is, I'm sure you're not the only one. You know other people who have had this problem. And I'm sure there's problems with people that's out there now.
Right.
This type of situation should be reported on a daily basis so they can see the complaint. And once they get so many complaints, I know we taking a step backwards, but once they start getting so many complaints, then they will be forced to answer this situation. That's the only thing I say. They'll be forced to just really pay some attention to this situation, because I think that's a major problem for a call not to be not to be answered at all. Not even a callback. You didn't get a callback, did you?
No. They didn't. She didn't see it. So, and here again, I'm going to act like that we don't have an audience. How do we have people in leadership that appear to not care? Because this is a question that I would ask you if we were sitting in the truck talking. Because it looks like nobody cares. It looks like the people that you pay to care don't care. That's what it looks like.
Right.
That's just honest. I'm just being honest. Whether whoever it is, it looks like the people that are put in places to care don't care. They don't care. That's what it looks like. Now, optics is huge, right? You can tell me one thing, but if my eyes see something else, then I believe what my eyes see. It appears as if they don't care.
Right. And I don't want to believe. I don't even want to believe that. For anybody to be in the public safety and they don't care. I just refuse to believe that.
Right.
But seeing is believing in a lot of instances, I don't think they don't care. I just think, and I'm going to say it again, I just think it's way above their head. They don't know. I believe they
don't
care.
know.
They don't know.
They don't know. They don't know to care.
No, they know to care, but they don't know how to fix a problem.
So if they don't know how to fix the problem, do they care enough to find out how to fix the problem?
Now, see, you getting into psyche. I may need to call my wife.
I'm just trying to get. I'm just asking. So I get it. I get it. You don't know. I get it. You don't know how to drive, right? But do you care enough about driving to get you to have somebody show you how to drive, right? So I get it. You don't know. I get that. We all don't know a whole lot of stuff. But did you know it? Did you care enough to go and find somebody who knows, who knows, right? Or do you just? And now we're talking about life. So we've gone beyond a luxury. We're talking about literally somebody's life that we should not be sitting around waiting on. We're not talking about what you thinking about eating or where you talking about living. We're talking about literally somebody's life. Somebody's life, which should take precedent over anything else. We shouldn't put life-saving and safety on the same scale as streets and bridges, right? When we started doing the 1% sales tax stuff, we noticed that people were putting we would talk about paying police and getting them properly trained and retaining police, and the people in the legislators were talking about potholes, and we would come back and say, listen, nobody's leaving Jackson because of a pothole. And now, years later, what we say came to fruition. They took the money, and now we have no police officers, and we still have potholes, and now our crime is out the roof and everything else. So some things, this takes precedent over I don't know, and I don't at least I think it takes precedent over I don't know, but I need to find out, right?
Yeah. But there again, that's you talk about those options. You can see potholes, you can see streets being paved, you can see what is he that they claim to fame most administration. I'm trying to talk positive about Jackson right now. Let me think.
Cars.
Something they done done. Police got new cars and all of that. You see that's a visual, but you can't see the general. Everybody generally can't see a lady tied up in her house or somebody calling for help and can't get it. That's not a top priority. You know what I'm saying? So they want to handle what you can see first. That's mine. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but that's my perception of what's being done. But
are you saying that? So are you saying that they are not as empathetic?
right, and they don't know how to trickle down. 911 call is your first. That for us crime, all crimes, somebody gonna call 911. I mean, I had the total. I'm looking for a call that comes in daily, a 911 call that comes in daily. It's I'm talking about it's a way low. And then you got call takers that need to prioritize all of these calls, and they depend on this system to facilitate these calls, and of which the police and the fire and the ambulance be notified to answer these calls, in which will determine how to categorize these calls into which crime or what incident is being committed or is happening right now. So there's a lot going on, but the powers that be don't seem to care until that final part of that segment I just named is when how is the call being handled after the fact, once an officer or once the fire or once the ambulance show on scene. That's where their concerns start right there. Once that police officer show on scene, once that ambulance show on scene, but what about those that don't never show up? What about the possibility of those that never show up because the call didn't get answered or because the call was improperly dispatched? What about that one person? That's what hurts so bad, because you did it literally, and you didn't make this up. You did not get a call, and you had an incident in your neighborhood where somebody got abducted and tied up in a house, and there was 911 call wasn't answered. So firsthand, this is nothing that we're making up. We've been through so much through our career to the point where some things work and some things doesn't. But we know, as a police officer, you and our former administrators, that there are some things more important than others that really need to be addressed right away.
So why do we, as citizens, the people on here watching this, and then the people that are going to watch it later, why are we just letting this happen? What? Why are we letting this happen? Like we don't have any police officers, Ernest. Like we don't have any police officers. I don't know if you all understand that, but we don't have any police officers. If you drive around in Jackson and if you drive with your eyes open, as well as I do, you see every traffic violation that there is, and then some. Now, traffic is so minor, right? But it's not, because it says something. It's not one person running the red light. It's everybody running the red light. It's everybody speeding, driving on the wrong side of the road, hanging out the car, hollering and screaming. So have we just said, forget it, don't worry about it? The election, we didn't have hardly anybody come out and vote at all. Are we just that apathetic? Should we all, what's the old saying, the last person to leave, turn the light out? What have we as humans, what are we not doing? What are we not doing?
We're not. That's $1 million question. That's $1 million question. But we're
and a hush comes over the crowd. Yes.
And a hush comes over the crowd. That's $1 million question. Man, I always say, if there was a abandoned house in Eastover, or East Jackson, Northeast Jackson, anywhere, the people in that neighborhood is not going to go for that. They're going to cry out. That's that squeaky wheel getting the noise. That's what I'm saying. They're going to cry out. They're going to be down at the council chambers. They're going to be at the mayor's office. They're going to be, if they see a car, if they see a group of guys parked in the parking lot of Jackson Academy, JA over there on Ridgeway, Ridgewood, and more than 2 hours, somebody's calling out, somebody crying out. That's that squeaky wheel. Why do we not do that in West Jackson? Why do we not look out for our own property in those areas? There's a lot that the city has to do, and they're understaffed. We know that, but I guarantee you, if the mayor get enough calls about abandoned houses or the proper, I know we have seen thousands of TV news conferences where they go around and do special reports. Oh, this abandoned house over here and that abandoned house over there. It's been here forever. And then you get an organization to go there and pick up trash for a week. And then we just sit back and wait on the administration to do something. But if you out there that next day waiting on the truck to show up, the truck will show up. That's the type of attention these things need to have now. We didn't come to that. We need to be giving that type of attention to our neighborhood, to our own neighborhood. And take, like I said earlier, take charge. The citizen is going to have to start taking charge and start waiting on the administration, start waiting on the police, start waiting on this great hope of this person is going to make things better. Because I lost confidence. I don't think they know how. A leader first must have commitment. A leader must have compassion. A leader must have confidence that he can make a change. Then lastly, the most important thing, a leader must be creative. You got to think outside the box now. The things that used to work don't work anymore. You have to be creative. You have to think outside the box. I think my dad raised me, and I think I got a whooping all the way up until I was probably 17 years
30.
old. Maybe 30, but probably 18, 17 years old. But I can remember literally the last time I whooped my son. I think he was maybe 16, and I put it on. And guess what? He looked at me like, okay. He stopped crying. He wouldn't cry no more. He wouldn't cry. I say, okay, it's time for me to try something else. That's not working. So I had to get a new approach. So there are signs where things not working. We just have to look at those signs and identify those signs and change and make that. I don't know how we got off on Bandit House. We talk about 911. Let's stick with this subject here.
No, we moved from 911. And because we segued into just basically crime and the breakdown of crime and then leadership and so I started talking about, again, we have no police. So as a police chief, as a police administrator, if I noticed, and I've told you this, first of all, that a good leader can ask his people to do anything for free, anything. And they will follow him to the gates of hell. It doesn't matter how much you pay them. It doesn't matter what kind of car they drive. It doesn't matter what type of benefits there are. A good leader will lead his men and women, and his men and women will trust and love him. And if you are not doing that, you have failed as a leader.
That's right.
And it's not Ernest Perry's fault. It's not Juan Cloy's fault. It is your fault for whatever reason, right? And because now we are at a critical mass situation here with no police officers. We had an investigator, a homicide investigator that just quit. His last day, I think, was last Friday. I think we only have five or six homicide detectives. And if you're still sitting there on the third floor with stars on your shoulders, thinking you're doing a good job, you need to rethink something, and you need to look beyond yourself. You need to go read some books, and you need to look beyond yourself. This is so much bigger than you. This is so much bigger than you. So much bigger than a paycheck. So much bigger than stars. So much bigger than me. It is. It just is. And there are 160 some thousand people depending on our police department leadership. And I'm sorry, it's failed. It's failed miserably, and it's looking like that we're gonna, we might not. I've told you I watched that Flint documentary so many times about the Flint Police Department. It used to be so sad to me to watch how one person would come to work, or they'd be sitting in roll call. And now, I talked to some of the folks I know that work for the police department. They're down 4 officers on the shift, 6 officers. They're on the radio arguing with the dispatcher. They're arguing with the citizens. They're man, it's
Yeah.
But the saddest part of all this is we just sitting here. We're just letting it happen. We're just sitting here. We're just sitting here. We're just sitting here.
Yep. When you saying we, what are you talking about?
I mean, all of us, me, you, and everybody watching, everybody that can do something about it or should be doing something about it. It's one thing for me to do something. It's another thing for you to allow me to do something, right? And then keep telling you I'm doing a great job. That's the part that gives me. It's like, please stop saying you're doing a great job.
And I think they hear us. I really think they hear us, Claude. But I don't know why we are like that. But I think it's more personal, because it's been said that you and I are this runner and all of this, and the reason why we doing this because we mad or we don't like certain, and how that could be so further. People don't like me because I'm friends with you, or they don't like you because you friends with me, opposed to just really just listen at what we're saying, and not only us. We have tried to get in front of the powers that be. They don't listen to any sound counsel. So that's where it leads me to believe, and I know they care. That's why I'm gonna go back to that. I know they care, but what gets me, they would not listen to sound counsel. Man, to go back and suit up, put a vest on, and go out there and deal with the people today, that's the last thing I would want to do. But for the good of the city, I would do that. I would really, really do that. And I know a lot of more officers would do that. And it may have to revert to that. But the fact that nobody would sit down and really, and I'm hoping that through this conversation and the conversation that we are having through this platform, that it do trickle down and somebody get the message. Don't worry about the messenger, but I think somebody needs to get the message that's in power. And I know that somebody out there knows somebody out there that knows the power that be. And it's not a knock against them, but I think all of us as citizens need to step up and try to offer some type of solution. And that's what we're trying to do with this. I think it is our obligation to do that if we want to live in a safe city, because we cannot handle 25. Well, I don't even go that more. We cannot handle 4 more years or 5 more years of this downtrend that we're in right now. In 5 years, I got a grandson that will be 16 years old. He's not going to be able to deal with this downtrend that we're having right now. So I think it's imperative that we do something tomorrow. You know, I think it's imperative that the powers that be listen to somebody and have some type of creativity that they can make a change tomorrow. And I know everybody is content. They in their own little happy world. Well, that's over there. That's not happening to me. But it will. It will.
Yes.
It will. Your day is coming. It's just a matter of time. So we don't want to wait on that. We have talked to preachers, school teachers, bishops, man, everybody. Even we have even talked to criminals, if
Yes.
you will, and they have ideas. They don't like it, you know. So I think all of these need to get to the table. You know, I was talking to a couple guys the other day, and they had a lifestyle that they need to change, and I told them that, and one say, well, you need to get us on your show so they can know our point of view. That's we need to hear their point of view. We really need to see because the army even studied their enemies. If you, I never been to the army. I may be talking above what I know, but the army studied their enemies. So these are the type of people we need to be having these conversations with. And I say we, I'm talking about the power that be. You and I can have them, but the reason why we started this conversation is because you and I have these great ideas, and we'll just be talking to you and me. But we figure, you know, somebody might hear some of these. Some of it might be, you know, you might get the superhero syndrome every now and then. We kind of crazy, but but for the most, our ideas are absolutely brilliant, to say the least. And like I say, I'm not bragging or anything, but it's a profile won't salute his own pump. But I think that's what we need to start.
Won't salute his own pump. Okay. Here we go. But that's a good statement, though. That's a very good statement.
There's a pole. In other words, my daddy say a pole wind that won't blow. So if we win and ain't blowing, you know, that's terrible. You're not
That's not a
considered
good win. You're wasting your time. Yeah.
You're wasting your time.
Okay, so we had two more topics. This violence over these last couple of days, these extreme violence, and we're going to talk about this last police shooting that's very high profile. So, but let's go ahead and talk about this violence. And since you mentioned that you talked to somebody who I guess is in the streets, right? Right. I have as well. You have, and even they are saying, man, it's crazy out here. They said, man, one guy told me, man, these kids have guns. A guy told me he was scared. This guy's in his late 20s. He said, sir, these kids have guns. They got like serious guns, not no little 22. He said something ain't right. And so even when you look down on people, even they have a code, right?
Right.
Everybody has a code. There's a code. Everybody has rules, right? Every little subculture has rules, and even they have rules. And when those rules have been violated, and they're coming to people like myself and people like you and saying, it's really bad out here, sir. You guys are going to have to do something. They don't know what to do. And they look at us. They're looking at us. They're looking at us to tell them what to do and they help, because that's what we're here for. That's what we say we went to school for, we went to the training academy for. We worked all these years on the streets. We worked with the FBI, DEA, the AG's office. And this is what we said. We're experts. We know what we're doing, and let us show you. And then when we just sit back and say, either move to another city, move to another county, build a house in a whole nother city, then what does that say? Where are we leaving them? We're basically leaving them on the streets. So if you can imagine that mindset of the people that are supposed to care don't even care. The people that are supposed to care, they don't appear to care, or they don't know to care. There's a lot of police out there that are just burned out. They're just at their wits' ends. They don't know what to do. They're just on autopilot, and they're working with really bad officers. They're working with some terrible officers, and but there's a lot of police officers out there that they're just trying to keep grinding, trying to keep their head up. And they, I've talked to several of them. They just keep saying, I'm gonna try to stick it out, but I don't know how much more longer I can stay. Right. So when the criminals, or when the people who commit crimes, let me back that up. When the people who commit crimes come to you, or they say it's bad, what do you do? Where have we become? What have we become? How Jesus went in the temple, and when he went in the temple and he said, these priests here are bad. So it just hit the fan then, right? When he went, no, we're not worried about the parishioners. We're not worried about coming to worship. I'm talking about you people stealing all the good cows and the good meat, right? You all are bad. So would you say that we're at that point now? Are we to the point to where the priests are corrupt? And I mean priest as in, just globally. I don't mean, just a priest or preacher or religious wise. I just mean just in general. Does it appear to you that we're at this point now to where it appears this way?
It appears. I don't think we're at that point yet, but I think we're on a downward trend. I don't think we're at that point yet because the most important thing that the government, if you will, I'm talking about police, the government is obligated to do is give us protection. That's working. I think we are protected. I don't think no foreign entity is coming over to the United States and bomb the United States. I think the government doing a good job right there, right? Go ahead.
What? Okay, so you said the government is obligated to give us protection, right?
Right.
Okay. What happens when the government does not? What happens when your government does not protect you?
Well, you didn't let me finish. I was thinking globally.
I know.
Man. Okay.
I know.
When the government can't protect us anymore, we're on our own. We'll have to protect ourselves until we get outnumbered or out whatever.
Wow. You do realize what you just said, don't you?
I understand what I said. I know you're gonna take it a whole nother way, but I know what I said. But
I'm just gonna let it stay there.
we have a personal obligation as men, as head of household, to take care of our family. That's our not only our personal obligation. That's our, if you will, our spiritual obligation is to take care of your household by any means necessary. Always use a phrase. People call me how I'm doing, ask me how I'm doing. I always use the phrase, I'm doing good, as long as everybody stay behind the gun line. That's the phrase I use. I got it from Life. About the gun line. It tells about the gun line, dog. So, but literally, I think if we do that, if we take care of our own, to include what goes on inside the gun line in our house and our families, because believe it or not, those kids out here, that they are somebody's family. Those kids that's acting up, those kids that's out here shooting each other, those kids that's robbing and stealing, though that is they are someone's family, and that family have an obligation, not to cry out when some stupid police does something ignorant. It's too late then. It's like a warning light. My dad say like a warning light on your truck. If you wait till the warning light come on, it's almost too late. Especially if you talk about if it's running hot. If your hot light come on, it's too late. You got to see that temperature gauge raising. You need to watch that temperature gauge. But if that light come on, it's telling you you're gonna have some problems. So the light is on right now. So it's almost too late. That light is on right now. So back to the protection parts. The government is obligated to give us, the people in the United States, protection, and I think they're doing a great job. They invest trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to protect us from the foreign powers or any type of terrorists or anything that comes in. All right. Locally, our police department supposed to protect us. And if you actually look at it, now think about it now, considering all the crime they are doing a very good job. Because we can go to the store without being, we can drive our streets, or we can do these things without really, some of us feel really comfortable doing these things. So that's a sense of comfort. That's a sense of protection that the police are doing. Even few that they are, even as bad as they are, we can still wake up in the morning and drive our cars to work knowing that it's not going to be a roadblock and somebody hijack us or ambush us. It's in some areas worse than others, but overall the police is doing that. They're doing their job. Now this will get tricky at. When, and this is where everybody begin to get kind of content. In those situations where two kids get to shooting or get to arguing, or husband and wife get into it inside their houses, or somebody playing craps on the streets and shoot each other because they know each other, or somebody don't like somebody stole somebody's girlfriend, or whatever the case may be, and a criminal act occurred. Now this will get real tricky, and they contend where there's nothing you can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we have failed. Not only saying there's nothing you can do about it, but people actually believe in their heart that there's nothing you can do about it. But believe me, if that person felt like something that's his family, if he felt like his justice department, he felt like his church, he felt like his community was going to hold him accountable for these acts, they will not commit the acts. I assure you, they will not. If you remember, and I go back to this story, and I'm about to tell the story too. When I got married, and I made my toast, made my speech, and I said I was going to defy gravity. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
In reference to being the best man I could be, right? I have held those coming true. Not because I'm such a great person, because the people I socialize with hold me accountable to that. You held me accountable to, hey man, because you often bring it back. Hey man, what about defying gravity? Hey man, but we don't have that no more. I think that's what we need to teach our kids, teach our families. The family. We need to have family, some type of organization where we have family structure, have to hold each other accountable. my son not wanting to disappoint me. He doing a lot to do that, but it's not intentional. You see what I'm saying? But I think for the most, my daughter wakes up every day to try to not disappoint their father or their mother. Where is that value right there? Where is it? But for the most one, the police is protecting us. You know, you remember when there wasn't a Bible on the book of Eli, and how the world was in such a bad, because they didn't have the word. We have the word, we have the protection. And we hadn't got to that point where we were robbing and taking people water and all of this kind of stuff going on. It hadn't got to that point yet. So we have to count our good and try to increase the bad, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an attitude.
Right.
An attitude of cleanliness, an attitude of politeness, an attitude of self-respect. All that can go into a whole city. It's just not a few people that can have that. You can literally infect an entire region of politeness, cleanliness, self-respect, looking out for, am I my brother's keeper, servant leader? And so now we have the attitude of, I got to get mine. You know, let me take my gun with me. Somebody's staring at me. You stepped on my shoe. You bumped into me. You know, if somebody does something now, it's funny because if somebody does something now, polite. It's funny because we kind of look at that as being strange now. Somebody did something polite. You got to want something from me, right? If you pull over and you change somebody's tire, you know, you just help somebody. You know, they're like, okay, so this guy's running game. You know, which could very well be the case, but we're gone from that. We've left that because we allowed this negativity to take hold of us, and I guess I dare say we become the priest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Jesus wouldn't turn the table over.
Let me ask you this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. You remember I called you about the incident with the lady who shot the man with the taser, right?
Right.
And I called you and I asked you a specific question.
Yes.
Is it possible? Because I didn't carry. I had retired before we started carrying a taser. And I didn't have the privilege, or if you will, the curse of carrying a taser. And I asked you, is it possible that happened? Could have happened. And first you kind of dance around, then you say, well, yeah, it's possible. That is a possibility that it happened because they have pretty much the same handle grip, if you will. And the carry, depending on how you carry. But you also said there's a lack of training. And to add to that, I think there was a lack of compassion and empathy or knowledge of the situation. But it also leads back to a lack of training. That officer was not properly trained. Now, regardless if she tried, this is my opinion now, and I know what people probably want to know, but regardless if it was intentional, regardless not intentional, regardless if it was an accident, I think she needs to be held accountable for making that mistake. Because there's a lot of people in prison right now because of mistakes they made. It's a lot of people in prison and they wish they could go back and redo it, I'm sure. So right. she need to be held accountable for that. But it's very possible that could happen on accident, according to what I saw and according to what you know, because you carry a taser from time to time. So that's very possible. It could have been an accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to say that it was cold-blooded murder, I don't think that's. I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily properly, but I know she need to be held accountable for that accident. What you think?
She just doesn't need to be held accountable. The system needs to be held accountable. Again, we're talking about this huge global issue of lack of training, lack of education, lack of care, lack of maintenance, it's just a giant lack, right? Everything is just so, this profession is so lacking. I mean, you say, I don't know what profession you have where you say you don't need at least the high school diploma, and then you say you're a professional. I don't get that one. That's the one that leaves me right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking anybody that has a high school diploma, because you could have had a high school diploma and then, got a GED rather, and then gone on to the military, gone on to college. You could have done any number of things, gone on to trade school.
Mm-hmm.
But when you just stop at 11th, 12th, 10th, 9th grade, then most likely you shouldn't be a police officer. And from there, education for police, education, training, constant training is frowned upon by administrations. And so when you have a situation like this happen, it's all about money. It's not enough money in the budget. But when you have a situation like this happen, everybody screams, she meant to do that. No. That lady did not mean to do that. Not one shot. If she meant to kill somebody, surely one shot is not going to be fired. So I know everybody's angry, and I was angry. I was more sad than anything, but the lady was scared to death. Her voice was so high, and screaming and yelling. The same thing with the guy that shot Philando Castile. He was scared to death. And he just laid down on that trigger. It's what he did. And so when you don't introduce stress into training, have stress inoculation, when you don't regularly introduce stress, and then when it comes time for you to get stressed, you vapor lock. Because you don't know what to do. You hadn't been in that situation. Or if you have, it's been 10 years ago. When was the last time you had any type, before you left policing, when was the last time you had any type of literally hands-on training? Any type. When you left the police academy, you were boxing in the police academy, right?
Right.
Then you boxed?
Yeah, we did.
Was that your first and last time boxing?
Yeah. I hadn't boxed since. You're right.
Right. It's a lot of stuff that you did then that you don't do now. You ran every day, you did push-ups every day, and now all of a sudden, none of that was required, right? And I say that because the more physically fit a police officer is, the more confident he is in his skill set, and the less likely he is to use lethal force. I am less likely to use lethal force because I believe in myself and my ability to handle myself. But if I'm 70 pounds overweight and I'm all jacked up on the inside, and I hadn't ran in 30 years, I hadn't done anything, then the first thing I'm grabbing is my pistol, because I can't defend myself. I can't. My stomach hanging over on both sides of my belt, front, back, side to side. And so here again, this is a profession. You say you're a professional. The other side of it is, from the physical aspect of it, is a mental aptitude and the mental training of being able to talk somebody down off of something, being able to talk somebody out of something. And like you said 100 times before, not always thinking you have to arrest somebody or grab somebody. Just stand there and look at them. I told you about the guy I got into it with this past summer, right? I just stood there and looked at it. and he was going off, doing push-ups, sweating, took his shirt off. He was stretching. He did everything but a whole kata over there. And when it was all over with, he's standing there crying and apologizing. But again, that's from me being a veteran officer and me thinking way back and going through situations where I would have probably broke my hand hitting him, or he would have broke his hand hitting me. But the other part is passing that information down. And I was telling a good friend of mine that I talked to, that's a police officer. Our issue was we had some good training officers, but a lot of them didn't pass us good information. They just gave us the information that they were given.
Right.
And so they hadn't gone in and studied and researched and either got in trouble and come out and done better and deduced and said, you know what, I probably don't need to do this. I probably need to do that. And then come back and say, hey, this is what needs to happen now. Right. And so that's what has to happen in policing. You have to go in and affect these young people that are policing with good training and practices. And the good thing about the Jackson Police Department, at least, is it has its own academy. There's no excuse. It doesn't have it's not the state academy. It has its own academy. It can train. That department can have a 52-week academy if it wants to. It does not have to have the state mandated number of weeks, which I think is 12 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like 700 some hours.
The minimum standard. That's what it is. The minimum. They go bare minimum. Bare minimum. That's what they do.
Bare minimum. That and I thought with this new administration, I thought we were going to have this super change in, academy training and on, yelling and screaming and hollering. Listen, that's great to yell and scream and haze, but in the grand scheme of things, it don't mean a thing. It doesn't mean a thing.
You forget somebody shoot a gun. You forget everything you learned. You know how we do it.
Yeah. When we train people, we tell them how to shoot. And we go over an hour and a half, 2 hours, when we go out on the range, they say, wait, hold on a minute. Wait, what do I do now? And I tell you, that's called vapor lock. That's called vapor lock right there. It's time to perform, and you can't because you haven't had enough training. We just gave you an hour's worth of training. And so what we do is we actually go do it. So then when we do it, then they go, oh, okay. But I'm glad you said that's a great example. And so we keep going over the same thing over and over again. Shoot one, load one. Shoot one bullet, load one bullet. We keep going over and over and over until they go, hey, I get it. Shoot one, load one. Okay, now shoot one, shoot two, load two. And so, but it's a whole 8 hours worth of that. But that's a great example. That is a great example.
Right. And it goes back to training. It goes back to training. And it goes to leadership too. Leadership needs constant training. Because things are constantly changing. My pastor said this morning, he told a story. I don't know, it was pretty much a true story, but it was this village. And I'm going to say Africa, in Africa. And this village was a warrior village. And the adjacent village came over and said, are there any super leaders born? Are there any super leaders born in this village? And the king of the village said, no, only babies are born here. And that made me, he said that people are not born leaders. You are developed into leaders. You are trained into being great. So he said only babies are being here. He wanted to know, are there any leaders born here? He said, no, only babies are born here. And I thought that was, oh man, that just was like, wow, an eye-opener for me. You are never too old to learn. And don't you think for a damn second that you know everything.
No.
I constantly learn. I constantly look back on the things that we did and do research. And I was going back on the laws, especially in Jackson, for that matter, or Mississippi. Let's say Mississippi, in reference to the minimum standard, since we were talking about the minimum standard. They were created for runaway slaves, literally, or the rebellions of the slave movement. I guess the slave ramification when they legalized. I mean, when they outlawed slavery, white people arrested blacks. Blacks was not allowed to arrest whites. So those laws were made for blacks. Those same laws that you and I, you actually doing today, are still on the books. So, but people have changed. We don't have any more runaway slaves. We don't need to make an excuse to stop someone. There's not a crime on the book worth taking somebody's life. There's not a crime on the book in the state of Mississippi that constitutes somebody's life being taken. Now, there are some criminal acts that unfortunately some things happen, but I'm talking about laws on the books. There's not one law on the Mississippi books of laws that constitute someone getting shot, a police shooting someone. Not one. So no call that a police go on is worth taking a life. I don't care if it's a driver's license, they could have ran from the police 10 miles down the road and ran 100 red light. It don't constitute, and especially a warrant for the arrest or a counterfeit bill. That don't constitute nobody getting their life taken. But not being trained to handle every situation that's on the book, every law that's on the book, I think hence lies the problem where that officer is afraid. It already got a stigma, especially. Fortunately, I don't think we have the issue to deal with as far as white officers shooting blacks in Jackson. You might go on the outskirts, that may be an issue there, but in Jackson, I don't think we have that issue. I think our issue is, like I say, is those murders and the poor pay for police officers, but I don't think the police brutality and police shooting is an issue in Jackson right now. I don't think so. I think we're okay on that end, thank God. But if they keep hiring and not trained, we may lead into that type of a type situation. I guess I seen police officers, black police officers treat black boys bad. I don't think we have the racism thing. I don't think so. But anyway, I probably jumped all from here to there, but and like I say, this is how we have our conversation, and it'll spark other things into play. But a leader have to have commitment, compassion, confidence, and creativity. I want you to write that down, son. I want you to remember that. You got to have those four qualities. If you don't, you're not going to be a good leader.
Give it to me again. Confidence.
Commitment, compassion, confidence, and creativity.
Gotcha. I just wanted to stop. I wanted to go away. I don't want any more police officers to quit. I'm tired of 8 officers being in the training academy class and 6 and 5. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And somebody needs to wake up and smell the coffee. That it's not always. It is a national trend of being short on police departments, but it's not a national trend of having no police officers. That is not a trend. And so we've got some issues with our leadership. Major issues that we have. And unfortunately, they just need to take a look at themselves and don't take a look at me, because I didn't do anything. I'm just sitting here.
And I'm
I'm watching.
Friend, and I'm your friend, so I'm bad. I'm a bad guy.
Well, that's called deflection. That's called not growing up and being a big boy. That's called not growing up. That's called not big boy time.
Well, I have, and you have too. I tried my best to reach out to the administration. I didn't get a call answer, didn't get a return. I was told they were going to call me back. They didn't call me back. I want to help. I think I could be valuable to the administration. I really do believe that, and I believe they want to do something, but they won't answer my call. Maybe someone else out there can reach out. We got some excellent ex-officers. Call us. Maybe they can reach out. Maybe we can do something, because we're gonna have to get together and help instead of and you notice we don't call any names or what have you, so we're not kind of belittling anybody and talk about anyone. You fill in the blanks, if you will, but they need help. I think they really want, contrary to what you believe, Mr. Juan, I think they really, really want a better Jackson. I believe that. Really believe that. I believe they want to do a good job. My thing is, and I'm not the smartest by far person, but I just think they're a little, and I know when I'm over my head, but I think they're a little over their head right now, and they don't have the trust within their ranks. They don't trust each other. In order to do something, you're gonna have to have that trust. You and I, or somebody, in order to do something positive, you're gonna have to have trust within your ranks. You're gonna have to be able to trust your assistants. You're gonna have to be able to trust your deputies. You're gonna have to be able to trust your officers. And how do you get trust? By giving trust. So that doggy dog is hurting us all. It's hurting us all.
Yeah. Well, sir, it is after 8 o'clock, so it's well past the hour. If you all can read this, what's that say? Can you see it? Is it two?
We got a glare.
We got about 10,000 of these, and we're going to be passing these out soon. We'd like for you all to join us. We're just trying to change the narrative. We're just going to pass them out. We're going to go to places where people are the most at-risk people frequent, and just try to do this like an elephant, eating an elephant, one bite at a time. And this is just one small thing that we need to do. We've got 2 banners and 10,000 of these cards here. This is one way out of 1,000 that I believe that we can do. But this is what we're going to start doing now. And then we want you all to join in and add your 2 cents and your manpower or your anything that you have, your knowledge, your skill set, your house, your building, your school, whatever you have. But we've got to change this narrative of gun violence and solving our issues with yelling, screaming, and hollering, and just being just nasty to each other. So all right, sir.
All right.
Any parting words? If not, I'm gonna go lay down again.
No, I'll save my stories for next time. One of my dad's stories. I'll save one for next time.
Yes,
I
sir.
got in trouble at Sunday school this morning, so I'm not gonna say it again.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.